Kanye West at it again, I see. Hey, man. I made a video. Before we get started, welcome back to another episode of Who Got the Aux. I made a short video a couple of weeks ago. And my whole point with the Kanye West issue is, one, I don't understand why. Let me take back, I don't understand. Because I realize when you're trying to be humble about a topic, so you use a phrase like "I don't understand," that's like blood in the water for sharks, for people online, because now they feel like they need to send you every link, every clip to help you understand, which in the end, it still doesn't help you understand. But it doesn't make sense to me. Is that the proper one? I mean, it does make sense because I get both sides. I get why he has followers. I get what's the right phrase for this. I don't care is what I said. I'll leave it. I'll keep it at that. I don't care. He's doing his thing. He's saying stuff that is coming off wild, that's coming off disrespectful. His recent interview with the Drink Champs brought up the George Floyd situation, questioning that and everything else. And slavery was a choice and all that. And I was gonna make. I'm probably still gonna make a short video. I just would like to talk to the people that, because I have no run in this. I'm not pro Kanye. I'm not against Kanye. I just don't care. I'm an outsider looking into the circus. And I would just want to ask the people that, like, when you're in those comments, it's a 50-50. It's either this dude's canceled, get him out of here, or it's y'all not understanding, he's a genius. Y'all missing the message. He's here to save us, blah, blah, blah. My first question would be to those people, like, what exactly about his way of doing things is convincing? Because as an outsider looking in, it looks very detrimental to his message. It looks very detrimental to who he is, and it seems to turn a lot of people off. But I would ask, what is it that he's doing? What is it? What's the method that makes it genius? A real question. I'm not trying to argue. I'm not trying to debate. I'm just trying to come to an understanding on something that I see that's very black and white, yet there is a whole demographic that looks at me and say, I'm missing something. So that was the first question. The second question would be, what exactly is he doing to tie yourself to his messaging? Meaning, there are people who are ready to die on the ship, in a sense. Like, I'm going down with the ship. I'm going down. And it's just like, it's okay to love an artist, to love the work he's done, to love the contributions he's done, and still check him when he says wild things or disagree when, like, you're not, people aren't perfect. And as a fan, it's not your job to ride or die no matter what. Like, if he's saying stupid things consistently or controversial, like, so I just want to know, what is that connection that keeps people just, I'm gonna support him no matter what. And that's it. I'm not making, I said, if I'm going to deal with certain things like this Kanye West stuff, I don't care about, right? I don't care about it, but I understand it's all over your timeline. It's been discussed. So as someone that's creating content, it makes sense to give an opinion in this case, or some people make spoof videos, that's what it is. But I told myself, if I'm ever going to discuss any of these topics where I don't really care about what everyone else is speaking on, I would try to come up with a different way of looking at things or a different way of approaching the situation. And I know that the people who support Kanye, like the people that support Trump, or the people that aren't supporting what the masses support, get automatically shut off, shut down, cancel, blocked, whatever case may be. So I just pose questions for conversation. I'm not looking to make anybody to look a certain way. I'm not looking to change anybody's minds. I just want to know, what is someone who looks like me, a neighbor down the street, what is your mindset? I need to know, just in case, the zombies come or the world end. I need to know that 2 houses down, they a little bit crazy. They loved all the wild stuff. I just need to know. I think that's fair enough to know who your neighbors are and all that good stuff. But yeah, that's all I discussed on that. He's doing his thing again. Whatever him and his following are trying to fight for and save, and he's willing to die for, I hope whatever. I don't even want to say I hope he succeeds, because I'm not really informed on what exactly he's doing. So I don't want to be like, yeah, go. That's just how I am with people in general. Like, whatever you're wishing for, have at it. I have nothing to say about it. But what I do want to talk about, though, if we're going to talk about, African Americans in the public eye, let's talk about, positive things or stuff that I'm interested in. And I was watching this video just to freshen up for this podcast. It was Coach Prime, Deion Sanders. He had a 60 Minutes interview. It's about 13 minutes long, just as long as this podcast. Very easy watch, very easy listen. And I'm glad that he sat down with a is 60 Minutes a publication? A television show like 60 Minutes, where people take it very seriously. There's no color, there's no jokes, no hip hop, no, just very bland journalism, old school. Like, I don't know if he thought that much into it, but I felt like what a place to go to get the message heard. Nothing else, no drama, nothing else. Just get the message heard, right? And I've been saying this from the jump. It's weird that not only are people, these news publications, these outlets are just so shocked. And I like the way he talks to them very, as a matter of fact, they're so shocked that someone like Prime played in MLB, played in the World Series, played in Super Bowls, one of the greatest corners of all time, one of the greatest NFL players, athletes of all time. He went to an HBCU? An HBCU? Like, why would you? And they just, it blows their mind. And they don't even understand that indirectly the ignorance they're showing, right? It's kind of the equivalent when I used to hang outside of my circle with different people from different ethnicities, and they would jokingly say, "Oh, you're not black, man." And I was young at the time, but I started taking black studies classes, and you start getting older and you realize what they're indirectly saying. They didn't mean any harm by it in the sense of racism. Like, these are people I'm cool with or whatever. It's just indirectly, that's just how they're wired. Like, you're not what I've been taught what black people are. That's really what they're saying, which is very offensive, right? And it's the same thing with this. It's like, we need to sit out. Well, why? And he's just like, it's HBCU, 45,000 strong. He talks about the homecoming. They were talking about how they flipped the number one recruit to go from Florida State to where he is. And the kid was just like, Coach Prime. And Coach was saying they messed up and let me bring him on campus during homecoming. And people don't just understand the power of culture. And it's I don't want to say it's new for us. Like, obviously, if you're from the culture, you know the culture. But from a commercial standpoint, there, you have St. Patrick's Day. Everyone celebrates St. Patrick's Day, right? Irish. You have Cinco de Mayo, right? Everybody's Cinco de Drinko, Taco Tu, whatever. You have Chinese New Year. These are things that's known, but there isn't Kwanzaa. But who's, you know what I'm saying? Like, that gets drowned by Christmas and New Year. Or even the Jewish, what is it? Hanukkah? Hanukkah's around that time? I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. But like, it's not to the forefront. So when he's saying that this kid was able to see 45,000 people for the most part look like him, the band, and it is just like, this is not what I was taught. I was taught I had to go to a Power 5 school to get this, this type of energy. And of course, if you're trying to, the bells and whistles and all that, Oregon is probably number one. This is the owner of Nike's alumni, so they got state-of-the-art campus. But it's something else that you can't measure. I think he said in an interview, too, that the number one defensive tackle came down between him and Alabama, and they went to Alabama. But the fact that they were the last two, Jackson State and Alabama, right? HBCU in Alabama. But the people aren't understanding that our culture is just as powerful, even though it's not commercialized as much. Like, you can get some of the greatest athletes who are African American to come to HBCUs if you recruit them, and obviously in this situation with it being Coach Prime, it's like a perfect storm, right? Like, obviously a regular, quote unquote regular coach isn't going to move the needle, but sometimes it takes extreme measures to push the needle forward, right? So you get a Hall of Fame player who's a coach, and you get the number one recruit. Well, that right there is like, all right, well. And he, if he's good enough to go, and Coach Prime there, and clearly no matter what school I'm at, if I got Coach Prime's blessing, that's going to go way further than anyone's blessing. Maybe Nick Saban's up there, but it's like you just start thinking football is not that big of a jump, right? And I think his son, Deion Sanders Jr., does a lot of behind the scenes stuff work, and just what he says, like those are the things that you're not seeing in the other locker rooms, and you're not accounting for when he's coaching. He's teaching them how to be men. He's teaching them how to be respectable. He's teaching them how to be what's that phrase they always say? Contributing factor to society, whatever it is. Like, your grades and your manners and your women and your respect and prayer and belief and just speeches after speeches. And then, of course, doing the practice stuff. But it's like you're getting the full blown experience with this guy, right? And he's saying his mission is to bring awareness to the HBCUs, and he's making examples about how high schools look better than HBCUs, and we can get some donors over here, and it's just bringing light that without pointing the finger, there's a lot of successful people that came from HBCUs, and they probably do their part. They probably give back. This isn't even a finger pointing thing. I hate when we do that as people. It's like, we always got, what about it? Just appreciate what's happening. But he's bringing it with an American sport like football, right? That's our sport. Basketball is international. Soccer is international. Baseball is international. Football is our sport. So when you're the catalyst on our sport at the collegiate level, which is almost bar none with the NFL, and you're winning, and you're Deion Sanders, you got him on Sports Illustrated, you're doing 60 Minutes, you're getting these sponsors that have never sponsored the conference, the SWAC conference, and all these eyes and ears, and you seeing kids like, oh, they swagged out, like, because a lot of people, the best kid in Florida State is probably gonna get recruited at USC or in Florida, go to West Virginia, and you're taking a lot of these kids out of their element, African American kids, and going to play in Nebraska and going to play in other places where ideally they would love it, I would think, if you can go somewhere where you're not an oddball in a sense. Now, of course, there's benefits to being dropped off in the middle of nowhere. It makes you grow, thicker skin, you meet people, makes you well-rounded. Of course, nobody's knocking that. But just for the simple fact of his mission and what he said he's trying to do, and he's doing it, it's a beautiful thing, and that's what it takes. It's going to take the first people that do it. It's going to take their sacrifice. Like that number one recruit and Deion Sanders, they're not going to make as much as 10 years down the line from the seeds they planted when SWAC is all of a sudden right there in the playoff. You know what I'm saying? But they will be known in the history books, and courage. And I don't know. It's just things, immeasurable things. And then he was asked, would you take, if one of the Power 5 teams came calling, would you take? And he said, I have to entertain it for sure. And that's one thing you got to like about him. He's a straight shooter, and he's being realistic. He said, I'd be a fool not to. And it's true. It's like, yes, if USC or one of these big schools, I have to at least entertain it. And what that says to me is the mission is the mission no matter what. Will we love him to be there and a good amount of time, kind of like Harbaugh in Michigan? It took him about almost 8 years before Michigan is looking like Michigan again. That would be great. But at the end of the day, he is who he is, and, he can move where he wants. But what he's already done, doing, like bringing that awareness is great. But I would think when it came to sports, it would be, because that's how sports is, right? You can have racism, you have all that, but on sports, it's the man next to you, Asian, black, whatever. It's like, yo, we got to get this done. So usually in sports, you can find that middle ground where, some of that stuff get left at the gate. So to me, to still see, like, you hear about the things he's brought awareness to, like the money that they get, the budgeting that they get, what they pay the coaches, the money. And it's just like, that's interesting for HBCUs. One, because of the times we're in where, again, I don't know the logistics. So I don't even know how simple or easy it is to get money to flow. But it's like, we have a lot of successful people. And I'm going to say this without trying to tell people what they should do with their money, because I hate when people do that. But we have a lot of people that are pro-black and for the people. Kanye West, right? I don't know what he's doing with his money, but he's one of those people that's for the culture, and it's like, something as simple as pouring millions of dollars into HBCUs. Like, historically black colleges, when you do the research on and why it's such a big deal, because I know in 2022 now it's like, oh, how would you feel if it was a white B? It's like you don't even understand why they're HBCUs. Clearly, if you go and do your research on why they were created and what was the necessity of having them, and understand who came from there and who funneled through there, and the fact that they're still standing the test of time, I would think that any African American that's lucky enough to be in position, whether it's through sports, entertainment, or whatever, and it's coming across hundreds of millions of dollars, that would be like first on the list, whether you went there or not, right? It's just let's keep this, let's make these bigger. I don't know. Again, you can't tell people what they do with their money. You can only do what Deion's doing by action, So kudos to him, man. And that, again, with the Kanye West thing, cool, do his thing. I rather focus on something more positive, something more, actionable item thing that we can see and feel and touch. So it's an amazing interview. It was only 13 minutes. I think they did one with his son, and I think they did a couple of interviews, but his interview was 13 minutes. So easy watch, easy listen, and you just get an idea of what he's doing down there. So yeah, shouts out to shouts out to Jackson State. Shouts out to the HBCUs. I want to start getting like gear and just wearing it, just to bring that, hats. How they got the plain hats, just random colleges, just to help do my part while I can until I'm able to financially do more. It's been real. Thank you for checking out another episode. I think this will be episode 39. WhoGotTheAux.com for all the full podcasts. And appreciate everybody listening. Hope it wasn't too long. Like I told you, these going to be quick ones, but I try to put a lot of meat into the topics. And I will see y'all at the next episode. Peace out.